This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, along with none other than someone referred to as the god of podcasting,
Whoa.
John Paz, who's the host of Taskmaster Talks, Taking You to School, bunch of other podcasts over the years, 9 years of wrestling podcasts. As Rick Bassman said recently, you're right up there with Meltzer with your wrestling knowledge too. And you just finished
Wow.
watching Backlash. How was it?
Actually, maybe surprisingly, it was actually a pretty good show. I know only 5 matches, but it went the full 3 hours. So, a lot of action, a lot of wrestling. I thought overall, pretty strong show, pretty good. The crowd, to be honest, took it to another level. I mean, they were rating the decibel levels and they were going to such a high level that you were getting alerts on your phone if you're in the arena saying, be careful. If you're listening that high of a decibel for an extended period of time, you might have ear issues or you might experience a loss of hearing for a few minutes. So, pretty amazing that that crowd was that loud and that good. And I feel like what could have been like a show, would have been okay, but the crowd actually turned a pretty good show into a great show, in my estimation, just because the crowd was hot for everything they did. I mean, I've never seen a crowd like that as far as just being nuts the whole time. I know when they went to Puerto Rico, they were awesome, and there was a bunch of other foreign countries that they went to that was an awesome experience and a great crowd. And sometimes when CM Punk wrestles in Chicago, you get that kind of fervor. But man, this crowd was nuts, and I don't know if I've heard a louder crowd in a long time. I mean, I think they said it was sold out. It was about 12,000 people there. It sounded like it was like 60,000. That's how insane it was. They were just nuts. Everything, they're yelling chants. I have no idea what they're saying, but they were nuts. So I felt like that crowd really enhanced the show.
Yeah, from the clips I saw in watching SmackDown last night, it seemed like they were going crazy. It's the first pay-per-view ever from France. I don't even know if they've done North American TV tapings from there. There may have been some VHS France matches in the past. You probably know better than me on that.
They've had some, and they've been there a few times, and they've been there a lot, but nothing as far as taping it and doing a TV show. Like they said, the largest ever gate for an arena show was Backlash in France. So obviously they're doing a hell of a job there. Absolutely amazing. SmackDown was the largest ever gate for a TV show. So just absolutely killing it. I know they went in France years ago when obviously during the Hogan era when they were super popular. And that's really kind of where they started as far as WWF and France. And Macho Man Randy Savage was champ at that point. So it was obviously a very hot era with France. But that's when it started, God, 40 years ago. Then you're looking at today and all the shows that they've done since then. Nothing like this as far as a TV taping, and then nothing as far as a PLE is concerned. And boy, I think they're going to go back because the money they made is just astronomical.
Yeah, and that's scary for regular people if if there's people willing to pay those crazy high ticket prices for more
Yep.
regular people, that puts us out of the front row seats, I guess. We know that what UFC's charging 12,000 now and even more
Insane.
for VIP passes for the upcoming Conor McGregor fight. But let's get to it. Cody Rhodes, of course, I think anyone could have predicted he was going to win. How was the match?
Excellent match. You knew anytime AJ Styles is in a match, he's just amazing, phenomenal, as his mantra says. I feel like one of the best, almost underappreciated, just for how good he is. I know Cody was calling him the excellence of execution. Undertaker was calling him the Shawn Michaels of this era. So obviously, the boys, the wrestlers, understand how great he is and how good he is and how good of a hand he is and how great he is in the ring. But it's awesome to see the crowd kind of get behind him because I know he lost to WrestleMania LA Knight, but then he beat Mysterio and Owens and he beat LA Knight again to get this shot and to be the number one contender. But you really kind of figured what would that do business wise with Cody versus AJ? And obviously, we talked about insane business that they did, biggest draw ever for an arena show that they've done for PLE. Just absolutely insane business that they've done. But AJ in the ring, awesome. The match was awesome. Cody actually a little bit underappreciated and underrated in the ring as well. He can kind of go and have a good match with anybody. They really, really just battled. I thought it was a great match. we took a certain level of the match, and then the crowd was insane. And literally, when they zoomed in, you could see the camera was shaking. So that's how loud that they were getting. So I feel like they made a great match into an even greater match because the crowd was just nuts. I put it up there very high on my scale rating. I don't really do scales or star ratings or anything like that, but I put it very high up there. Really, really good match. And AJ didn't hit his finish. So that kind of made me think that there's going to be another rematch and maybe something left on the table here as far as these two. But awesome match. The crowd made it even better. Love the chemistry between these two. They really pulled out some great moves. Amazing. AJ's 46. He looks like $1,000,000. He's bigger and bulkier than ever. And he hit the springboard 360. So actually, excuse me, springboard 450. So, I mean, just amazing to see he's still able to do what he's able to do at this stage in the game. He's quite frankly better than ever. He said he's still in his prime. Amazing. His gear was a little homage to 21 years ago in TNA when he beat the American Dream Dusty Rhodes when he was the NWA champion, meaning AJ. So the gear was a nice little homage and little teaser there at Cody and maybe a little mockery at Cody. Cody did a little Stardust in the match because AJ was making fun of Stardust earlier on SmackDown. So really good match. They just had awesome chemistry, and I kind of want to see part two, maybe in Saudi. Maybe we'll get a part two of these two. But really good main event. Went almost 30 minutes too. So if you like a good long wrestling match with a hot crowd, you're going to love these two. And they had awesome chemistry together.
Yeah, and I did watch the video WWE put out of AJ Styles training for Cody Rhodes in his backyard, which by the way, what a backyard and house he
Yeah.
has. But he looks way bigger than he's ever been, and I've seen him in person at Stu Hart's 88 birthday show. I used him 3 or 4 times in Great North Wrestling, including wrestling me. He's way bigger than he was then. So and I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but they seem to be like relaxing on their policies lately. So
Yeah, depending on what he's doing, or it could be TRT. I mean, who knows what he is
yeah,
or what he's taking. But obviously, testosterone at a certain age, you can just get it. I mean, it's
yeah.
there's no fighting it. Obviously, look at Lashley and Drew and those other older guys that are bigger than ever, just massive. But I just
Randy
love to
Orton.
see. Yeah, Randy Orton is gigantic. Yeah, he's huge. I just love to see the fact that he is that big, but he's still mobile as hell. Like still doing the springboard 450, still coming off the top. So sometimes when you bulk up, you lose all your athleticism. He did not skip a beat. He hasn't lost anything.
No, he looks great, and it's funny because I remember around the time that I beat him, which I'll throw out there, I beat him 2 times in one night. He was actually talking about maybe retiring in a couple years because of
Wow.
back injuries. So I'm actually happy to see that he's still going because he is a great wrestler. Now, of course, the other big thing that happened, well, a bunch of stuff happened, but we saw the debut of another one of Haku's sons. The Bloodline defeated Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and I think this other son that you're probably more familiar with than me made his debut.
Yes, he used to be Camacho in the WWE. He was there many years ago, but obviously for the last bunch of years, God, since I think 2016, I want to say, he's been in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, former IWGP Tag Team Champion with his brother as the Gorillas of Destiny. I was actually surprised to see it because I kept reading that Jacob Fatu was going to be the next Bloodline member. I didn't read anything about any surprises for this show as far as any bloodline support. I know people online were saying, "Oh, Jacob Fatu is going to get involved in the Jey Uso match," and they were kind of saying, or maybe he's going to get involved in the tag match. So I was like, "Oh, maybe keep an eye out for Jacob Fatu." I didn't even know Tonga Loa even signed with WWE. I was actually surprised that he was signed. I didn't realize he was a free agent. He was a free agent a few weeks after Tama Tonga. His brother was a free agent from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah, there he is as Camacho with Adam Rose there. But he obviously, I mean, he's a big boy. He's big. He's the more muscular, bigger brother of Tama Tonga. One thing about it, they were a great tag team as the Gorillas of Destinies in New Japan. Hopefully, it transitions back over to WWE. Great match with Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. It turned into a street fight because Nick Aldis said the refs can't control it. Let's just do anything goes. So that's what it turned out to. I mean, just a wild, crazy match. They're using tables, they're using chairs like crazy. Owens took a bunch of crazy bumps. Tama Tonga took a bunch of crazy bumps. There was an RKO on the announce table. So it was a crazy, wild match, as you would expect from the bloodline. And obviously, Tama Tonga and Solo got the pin over Kevin Owens to get the win, all thanks to Tonga Loa. And now that they're this new bloodline, but the interesting part is Paul Heyman knew nothing about it. That's what I feel like the cool thing and the interesting thing and the real, the episodic storytelling of this whole thing was Heyman revealed that he hadn't spoken to Roman Reigns since Mania. So then Nick Aldis said, then you were lying about the draft. I thought you said Roman pulled himself out of the draft. So obviously Heyman pulled Roman out of the draft. So that's interesting. There was a lot of "We Want Roman" chants. He was super over on SmackDown. They were chanting for him at the press conference. They were chanting for Roman on Backlash itself. So they really are seemingly turning Roman babyface, with Heyman kind of keeping him out of the action, or he's not communicating with him. He hasn't talked to him. That was a nice little wrinkle. So Heyman's lying to us the whole time. Maybe no surprise there, but he was definitely surprised that Tama Tonga debuted when he did, and then he was even more surprised that Tonga Loa debuted at the pay-per-view, and they made him do the one, put up his finger. He wasn't doing it. They made him do it. So good match. Solo and Tama get the win, the bloodline, thanks to Tonga Loa, the brother. And there we go, off in the running with this new bloodline, which is now 3 guys deep, plus Heyman, that they're kind of making him be in the group. So really, really interesting on that front. And I'm glad that they got the win, because obviously they need it, and they need the momentum, and they need heat.
The one thing is, I wonder if Jacob Fatu is going to go to the bloodline, because then it starts. I mean, I like Jacob Fatu. I know him better than Tamatonga and this Tonga Loa, and I'm saying the name wrong, I know. But like, is it going to become like the NWO if they just start putting all these guys in that aren't necessarily established yet?
Yeah, I mean that's always the fear and always the scare. It just seems like now, hey, Mitch Miller, what's going on? The modern day cowboy. It just seems like they're kind of keeping it good for now, I think, because obviously Jimmy's injured and they took him out of the game, so we don't have to worry about him for a while. Jey Uso's has nothing to do with it. He's feuding with Damien Priest and Judgment Day on Raw, so it's a different brand. So I feel like right now 3 guys is good. If you add Jacob Fatu, 4 guys, that's good. That's the max. That's kind of what it should be. The 4 guys as far as wrestlers, then Heyman. So I feel like that would be good. That's the max. I don't know if Jacob Fatu will be in the bloodline. I would imagine yes, but just interesting to see kind of where he lands. It just seems like if you have 3 guys, meaning Solo, Tama, and Tonga, then if Roman comes back, maybe Roman and the Usos 3-on-3. But you throw in the Rocks in the mix, you throw Jacob Fatu. So you could go in a million different directions right now. Right now, it's good, though. It's not crazy. It's not getting NWO like so far, so it's good. So you just got the 3 guys, the 2 brothers, and Solo, obviously, as well.
Yeah, and Virgil's dead, so we don't have to worry about him jumping in there like he's joined so many factions over the years. Now you mentioned Jey Uso against Damien Priest, who retained the second WWE title, which I was just told. So there's only 2 titles now. I guess they unified the one where
Yeah,
Roman Reigns
Roman
had the
did.
2. So now
Yeah.
there is only 2, and this one was for the second one.
Yes. So the WWE, this is just basically the world title. Damian Priest retained the title thanks to from JD McDonough and Finn Balor of the Judgment Day, beat Jey Uso. That was a pretty good match, pretty strong match. Probably went about 17, 18 minutes. I felt like good action. The crowd was super into it. Yeet is super over. Jey Uso is super over. But Damian Priest, obviously, he needed the win. You got to keep him strong. He just won the title. You're trying to create a new star here, and you're trying to create Judgment Day as kind of being this juggernaut group on Raw. Like you have the Bloodline as this juggernaut group and faction on SmackDown. So good win. And obviously, a loss doesn't hurt Jey Uso at all. He's still super over, and they cheated to win. So, I mean, one of those things where I know it was a top rope choke slam to get the win for Priest, but Baylor and JD McDonough cheated for the Judgment Day. So I feel like it keeps Jey Uso strong, and not that a loss would hurt him anyway, because he's just super over right now.
And Jade Cargill, who they have positioned to be a star. I did notice I believe she was on the poster for this event. At least one of the original posters, even though she hadn't wrestled an official match at that point, which gives you good indication they're going to make her star. But her and Bianca Belair defeated the Kabuki Warriors to win the Women's Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, it was an okay match. It actually went a lot longer than I thought it would. I feel like it went over 15 minutes. I thought maybe Bianca Belair and Jay could just kind of squash the Kabuki Warriors, but hey, it's a pay-per-view, 3 hour long with only 5 matches. So I guess it's okay to have that longer match. The crowd was super into it. Asuka, obviously, she's a great worker. Kairi Sane's pretty good. Took a lot of crazy back bumps, and I mean, they were just tossing her around like nothing. I mean, she was taking a lot of maybe unnecessary bumps at some point, but she was taking a lot of crazy bumps, really getting Jade and Bianca over. Obviously, Bianca, great athlete, good wrestler. Jade, you could tell she's still a little green. She's still getting her foot wet. There was one transition in the match with her and Kairi Sane, kind of didn't have chemistry, or they weren't kind of jiving at one point, but they were able to rebound. And man, the one thing that led to the finish, Jade Cargill, obviously looks like $1,000,000. She was throwing Kairi Sane around like a rag doll. She literally at one point picked her up for a power bomb, then threw the other way, flipped around, then threw up again, and then caught her into Jaded and hit it. And then Bianca Belair got the pin on Asuka for the win. But man, the Jade Cargill, a little bit green, but you could see there's a ton of potential there, and she's got some power to her. She was literally tossing that girl Kairi Sane around like she was nothing, like a sack of crap, if you will. But a decent match. I'm not really that into the women's wrestling as much, but you got to give the kudos. Bianca and Asuka are obviously really good. Kairi Sane's good, and I think Jade has kind of come a long way. But she has still got a long way to go. I think this is kind of a perfect segue for her. Let her work with Bianca, let her get her feet wet a little bit more, let her work out some of the kinks. But you could tell, man, the crowd is into her. She looks like $1,000,000. She's definitely a star. And when she does those power moves, like, wow, man, she gets a huge pop.
One thing that will be interesting to see is we see people like Jade Cargill and Cody Rhodes going from AEW to WWE and becoming massive stars, way bigger than they ever were in AEW. Then the opposite is happening with people like Paige and Edge to a lesser extent, and a
Yep.
bunch of Malachi Black and all these people. Um, I think that the grass greener on the other side might be more WWE to AEW, other than the opposite direction what it was before.
To me, it's a lot of the creative and a lot of the booking. Like if you look how Jade's handled very well. They put her in a position the Royal Rumble to look like $1,000,000. They put her in a position in the 6-man tag that they had, in the 8-man tag that they had. Even in this match, they put her in a position to look really strong and not do anything to kind of make her look bad. I feel like the booking has been very strong, the creative has been very strong, and whoever's agenting her for the match is kind of keeping her protected as well. They're doing a good job with her. I feel like AEW also, she had like 60 matches in 3 years. So you think of 20 matches a year, that's not nearly enough to really get, I don't know, just not enough to get smooth or good in the ring. You need more work than that. I know she's been in WWE for a little bit now. She's working a lot down the Performance Center, a lot work with some trainers one-on-one. And here, I know she's had 10 matches so far, but if you think about it, she's booked a lot better in WWE. I know Edge, Adam Copeland, he's kind of not really booked that well in AEW. So a lot of the thing is the creative, a lot of things booking. I know maybe grass, maybe greener as far as getting paid more, and you're getting a ton of money from AEW, and a lot of those guys are getting paid well, but creatively it's just not well. And obviously Cody right now, I mean, he's been booked great. If you think about the 2-year storyline with Roman Reigns, the Bloodline finishing story, he had a 3-match 6-month-long feud with Brock Lesnar. He had a big feud with Seth Rollins. He tears his pack. They had him still wrestle. He wins the Hell in a Cell match. He wins 2 Royal Rumble. So he is great, and everything to do with him is great. The charisma, he sells merch. If you look at his quarter hours, he gets ratings. But the big thing, the most important thing to me, I feel like he's booked great. Like Triple H has done a great job and very smartly has booked him. So that's the big thing to me is you could go to AEW and you could be great and do great things, but creatively, I feel like there's a big difference between WWE and AEW.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they haven't tried to push Edge. He's not really one of the lost wrestlers, but it just doesn't seem like, other than that Christian match, anything's really gotten over to the point where it's actually affected business
No,
in a positive
nothing.
way. And of course, the women's world title, Bayley retained, defeating Tiffany Stratton and Naomi. Any thoughts on
So
that one?
So Bayley wins. Nothing really. I know it was like a 15-minute match, maybe a little bit less. Nothing crazy. Nothing really stood out. Just that Bayley was super over. The crowd was really, really into Naomi. They hated Tiffany Stratton, which was a good thing. But there was some Tiffy time signs out there and some Tiffy fans. I think just Bayley winning was kind of predictable. It was a decent match. But the one takeaway is Tiffany Stratton, man. She looks like $1,000,000, and just I think she has star potential written all over her. If you want to talk about maybe like the next Charlotte Flair or the next big heel female champion that's going to headline Mania as far as the woman's side of things is concerned, Tiffany Stratton, I think, is the next star. She looks like $1,000,000, and man, she's athletic as hell. Former gymnast, but some of those moves that she does, it's like, wow, she's quite athletic. So I think the real takeaway is Bayley's super over, yes, and she's the champ. She deserves it, as the crowd said. But Tiffy Stratton is definitely a future main event star for the women's division. Yes,
So that
prettiest
was it.
moonsault ever.
That was the well. Scorpio has some good moonsaults, so I'm gonna have to check this moonsault out because Scorpio always had my favorite. So I'll definitely have to
Oh,
watch
she's
the
got nothing on
highlights.
Scorp, but she does have a good one, the prettiest moonsault ever. She does a triple jump off the ropes, but you could just tell she's super athletic.
So we heard all these pictures were being released of Cena and Charlotte Flair in France. Did they do anything on this event?
Nope, they were not on the show. I know they were there, so I was like, oh, I guess Cena will interfere for the bloodline or do something. But no, Charlotte Flair apparently not ready to come back yet. She's still injured, and I guess maybe Cena was there filming a movie or maybe doing some advertising for WWE or some spokesman stuff or ambassadorship. So neither one.
That goes back to what Vince Russo was just telling you. Why does Charlotte Flair, because she's got a leg injury, does she have to like mysteriously disappear from television because her mouth isn't broken? It's
Right.
just the way
Well,
we
they
we
haven't done that
don't
with Punk. And Punk's he
no,
was on the
I
pre-show. Yeah,
admire Punk for that. I actually
yeah,
admire Punk that he's still keeping his name out there. I have more respect for him for that.
absolutely. And that just keeps him relevant, keeps him selling merch, keeps anytime you mention his name. I mean, the crowd even today they saw him in the pre-show. They were yelling CM Punk a million times. So just keep him alive and relevant and strong, and he could still sell you pay-per-views, sell you merch. He's actually awesome as a commentator. Just the stuff he says is great. Quick wit. Even on the pre-show, he was good with some of the stuff he was saying and some of his analysis. So I just feel like you got to keep them on TV even though they're injured because it keeps them very viable, and especially Punk. I mean, he's a huge draw for them, and he sells a crap ton of merch. So keep him alive and keep him strong, and you can still keep this Drew McIntyre Punk feud going, even though Drew apparently is injured now with his elbow, and with Punk coming back hopefully soon.
And the one last thing I'll bring up here is we just heard, I think it was today, the news came out that Seth Rollins has re-signed with WWE. No surprise, unless Tony Khan would have made him some unbelievable offer. That also means that Lynch is probably re-signing. McIntyre just re-signed. Any thoughts on those three potential free agents staying where they are?
Good on WWE. I mean, they're WWE lifers to me anyway, for the most part, those guys. Becky, I think, will resign, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Seth, I thought that was pretty predictable and obvious he was going to sign. Obviously, they just had to agree to a money figure. He loves it there. Then, if you look at Finn Balor, that was obvious he was going to resign as well. And Drew was the only one on the fence where he might go elsewhere, but I think very predictable and obvious. They just had to reach the dollar figure. You can't let any of those guys go. They're too important to WWE right now. And obviously, Triple H loves all of them. And I feel like the most important one, of course, was Drew McIntyre because he's got the best character right now. And he's just hitting a stride on all cylinders. He's killing it right now on the mic, in the ring. Just everything he does has been great. So he was the biggest key to me to resign. But I think fairly obvious that all of them were going to resign there.
Is there anyone else you've heard that's coming up anytime soon?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head, just as far as free agency. I know Cody re-signed for a few more years. I think LA Knight recently, I'm pretty sure he did re-sign. So there's been nothing as far as that. And I'm just kind of just waiting for Jacob Fatu to show up. Because out of all those guys in the bloodline, I think he's the best. And he could be my favorite. Obviously outside of Roman and Jey Uso, I think Jacob Fatu is the best.
Yeah, LA Knight just re-signed, I think at least 3 years I heard, and he's in his 40s, so that's
Seems
good
like they're
for
doing
him. He was
3-year
working well.
contracts right now. Yeah, he's definitely worth it too. He
Yeah.
sold a ton of merch last year. I remember reading Weekly. He was like the number one merch seller for like weeks on end. So good on them, and obviously he deserves it.
Very good. Well, I appreciate the updates. Where can we follow you? I know you just did you just interviewed Meltzer. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yes. Coming soon to Hannibal, of course, too. So you can follow me on Twitter and X at 2Man Power Trip. And that's pretty much it. You can follow me on there for all the latest updates and latest shows. And Meltzer, yes, just had him on. He was awesome. Hopefully going to have him on again. So we've been talking about it. So hopefully he comes back again. He was great.
And yeah, Grandma Daisy, we all want Bob Holly, but he seems to have
Yes.
dropped off the surface of the earth.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he hasn't been seen or heard from in like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I got to call him actually. I got to see what he's up to.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting one to try and work on at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I know he was getting in good shape, so I wonder what he's up to, like what he's doing. So I gotta like maybe give him a call and get an update.
We'd love to have him, and I'm sure Jack Kilby would book it against Rene Dupree in Great North Wrestling. That'd be an awesome
Oh,
match.
whoa, I like that. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes.
And I think Renee even said he would do it at one point when he was talking about it. So let's, if you talk to him, see what he says about that.
Wow. Oh,
Oh
Janelle
my
Grant.
gosh. Yeah, it seems like the tides are turning for her, but I don't know enough about the case, but it definitely seems like the tides are turning a little
Yeah,
bit for
Johnny
her.
Ace turn. Now he's on Vince's side on this whole thing. And at first he seemed
Yeah.
like he was with Janelle, so he kind of turned the tide. He's with her. And then there was a little interesting wrinkle that Vince's camp threw out there. She was engaged when this was going on. So
Yeah.
that was a shocker. Didn't see that coming. I thought she was alone and her parents died. And then I read that her dad had died 3 years earlier. So, oof,
Mom
it's
had
like,
died before that.
yeah. So it's like Vince keeps throwing out these fastballs here after all those curveballs. So I don't know. I'm not leaning one way or the other, but after reading some of that stuff, it's like, wow, Vince might be right here. Johnny Ace turn heel, if you will. So who knows?
One thing I would like to see is Vince open up his own wrestling league. So I hope that for that sake that she's definitely not 100% telling the truth. I knew
Something's
that
up.
from the start when
Yeah.
she's living in the same building as him that supposedly used to be a Donald Trump building,
Yep.
then was bought by something else. So it's like you're not destitute living there, but she's a lawyer. She's going out with a lawyer. I mean, and then it's one thing to be raped, but if you're with someone for 3 years, accepting all these gifts, doing these jobs, and you have a law degree, you're not stupid. I don't know. And you don't call the cops. I don't know.
Something smells fishy, and when he stopped paying her is when she turned on him. So obviously it's got something to do with monies, but we'll see who's kind of telling the truth and who's not coming up. But man, lately all the news that's coming out is all for Vince. So not good for her.
And of course, what I've been saying, there's two pictures of her out on the internet. They're both when she's young. That's just bizarre.
Yes,
Like she's
weird.
hiding something there. Like honestly, who that's in their 40s only has two internet pictures? One of them is from a movie, and the other one is this like standard one where she looks innocent.
Weird.
But again, I'm not taking either side. I just think there's suspicious stuff on both sides. And for my own wrestling news pleasure, I would like to see Vince open up another league. And also, I would like to see another league, maybe a bit less corporate, open up since the two main leagues now are very corporate.
Yeah. I think it would be crazy if he did, but man, I'd be interested if he was going to.
Very good, Jonathan. So I'll let you close this up with whatever you want to tell the fans. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See you right back here next time on Hannibal TV. Have a good one, folks.